All right, so today we'll be doing our first media discussion podcast. I am Jesse Brown,
I'm Janaya Seals.
I'm Lindsay Hernandez.
and today we will be talking about media functions and media biases. I will be doing the cultivation theory.
I will be doing Sanders on consolidation.
I'm doing 5 filters of media.
So I figured that I would start us off. When you're looking at media today, you see a lot of things like violence, things like, murdering video games. And I feel intently that these things are changing humanity's mindset. It's becoming radicalized, it's becoming more me versus them. You know what I mean?
They're real sensitive about power and who controls the world. I feel like they're too into that instead of what's really going on around us and who's really president. I feel like nobody really care about the bigger issues. It's more about, like I said, the power and who really controlling the world. But it's not like anybody trying to do anything about it. They're going to keep voting for the men or whoever elected for president, trying to run for president. But yeah.
So, what are your thoughts about the messages that the media sends out? How are they? Me personally, I see them as sending out the message that everything is perfectly fine. They are building this self-image through constantly cultivating a cult of personality that everything is fine. The government has your best interest at heart. How do you feel about that?
I feel like they don't.
I feel like they just do that, like they put up this front that everything is fine when it's really not, just to like cover the truth, or I lost it.
Yeah, like she said, like try to cover up the truth, and like when it really gets out there, they like to get mad and start like, okay, so we can be like talking about something can go down, and it can be like this stranger who just get online and they start talking about, oh, how we can stop this or how we can do this and that, and then just out of nowhere, like they'll go missing, and it'll just be like stuff like that that just have you thinking like, okay, y'all trying to cover it up, and when somebody comes out and they talk about it and speak on it, they go missing.
So you would, I definitely agree there.
I was just trying.
When people have that form of, they have a different message that's subversive to what the main media companies are saying, they get the flack. They are disappeared. Their story is gone.
Yeah, I was literally about to say that about the flack, and that just because the story is not convenient to them, or it's not the picture that they want to like present, or the picture that they want to paint, they discredit it just because it's not what they want. They want the public to see.
And it instantly becomes that version of the wrong story, or it's the like inconvenient truth. You have, these big media companies, they'll squash any of those small independent news sources because they dare to report on things that go against the grain.
Anything to bring them down.
Yep. So in my mind, it is these giant tech conglomerations, these news companies that are owned by, maybe just 2 or 3 companies, that they seem decisive. They seem like CNN is, leftist news, Fox is, right-leaning. But in reality, these news companies are all sharing close enough to the same thing. They are controlling what you see and what you hear, and that is leading to partisanship in society.
Which I think a lot of people don't really notice that, because news stations, they are like on the scale of left or right and stuff like that, and I feel like people don't really notice that. So when different news stations are doing the same story, but one has a different storyline than the other because they believe in something else, or their news station is left and another news station is doing the same story but it's right side, same story but it has different beliefs. So I feel like people don't really notice that, so they get they like misinformation just because of their political or their beliefs on left or right.
Especially, I agree with your, filters of media. what do you think about our head, like how we view, when you're looking at a news story, the first thing you see is the headline.
Mm.
I think, especially with like your encoding and decoding, how do y'all see that message when it comes to y'all's?
The headlines?
Yes.
I feel like the headlines could either be like a hit or miss. Sometimes they will be something. Yeah.
I see these forms of these headlines as just another way that they are cherry picking how you see the world. The first thing you see is the headline, that immediately becomes what your thought is. If, say that a news company used the word Tesla got fined instead of Tesla broke the law and had to pay for it, a fine seems like something that's unfair, something that the government is forcing on this poor, helpless company. And I believe that becomes how you view it. You view it as something that is not Tesla's fault, that just because something happens to them, they wouldn't be at fault there. How do you feel about the encoding messages?
Say it again.
How do you feel about your encoding with like news headlines?
Like y'all was saying, I feel like they just put what they want out there, and either you're gonna really be deeply into it, or you're just gonna be one of the people on social media who take it and run with it, or just always got something to say or have your own opinion.
So how do you feel about? I feel personally that, especially with social media, the encoding of the message, how you view it, definitely can become construed just because you see a barrage of so many different opinions.
To be honest, I just focus on my own opinion. I don't even think I give opinions. I don't even really be like. I try to pay attention, but I don't really try to pay attention to what other people say because I really try to get my own view. Especially since I'm still just so young and I still got a lot to learn about this world, what's going on.
So you're definitely not one of those people that just decides they want to post every single thought in their mind onto social media. I feel like that's another discussion question we could have in the future.
Yeah.
I feel like for headlines, so it really depends on what happens, but most headlines, when it's just like big news or backlash or something like that, the headline will basically, it's what draws people in.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's like a really negative connotation, or it's just something with like a common enemy, people are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna read that,
See what's going on.
And sometimes the article won't even be that good. It's just the headline. The headline could be really misleading, but sometimes people just read the headline and they're like, oh, okay, and that's all the information they get. They don't actually go into the article and read it because sometimes the headline can be really misleading.
And then they take the information, then they say, oh, this what happened, then you never really know what happened.
Yeah.
And I definitely agree there. I believe we have become a society. It's a popular proverb. We become what we behold.
Mm-hmm.
The things that we see in the news, the headlines that we read, they become our collective psyche. When all you see is bad headline after bad headline, like ocean liner sunk, nuclear bombs tested, oil spill, Kim Kardashian died, all that stuff, you feel that the world is a bad place because you're not seeing the good in the world. Because, unfortunately, as bad as it is, good news doesn't sell.
Yeah.
We have become ingrained as a culture to learn that bad news sells. Bad news is what gets clicks.
Mm-hmm.
Clicks drive revenue.
And I feel like it's that way because big institutions, big corporations, they believe they know how the media works, so they try to influence it like that. Like they try to influence it that it is good news and stuff like that, but in reality, it's kind of not.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. I can definitely say that when big tech corporations got into the media, it became less about the truth, less about informing the public, and more about shaping the public. How can we turn your every average day people into sheep?
Yeah. I feel like that also connects with the advertisements and all of that, especially with big corporations or media everywhere. I don't think you can watch media within 5 minutes and you already get an ad or something like that. So I feel like that too. They're trying to make you like these sheep. They're like, oh, here's our product, like sell our product, because they're selling us to the companies and stuff like that. So I feel like that connects with them trying to make us sheep.
And I feel like definitely, on your topic of encoding and decoding, I feel like a lot of messages today, you can't get stuff like you got in the 2000s where it was edgy or cool, because things that go against the grain, things that aren't for general audiences or that might have a bad message, react poorly to the current cultivation that the media companies are doing to us. Anything that cannot be sold to an advertiser to then sell to us is seen as something that is bad. It's something that should be erased completely.
Yeah, and if it doesn't sell, they just completely discredit it.
Just get rid of it.
All right, so I think we had a really good discussion.
Yeah.
This has been, how a little bit about how media functions. We'll have a better podcast name come our next discussion. I promise.
We'll definitely be better.
We'd be locked interest.
I'll be better next time.
But that is, I ultimately believe that is how our media functions, through things like cultivation theory.
Yeah.
How they are kind of cultivating us like wheat, basically. We have sort of gone away from the sheep model, and we have become the wheat. We are what's harvested to feed to the advertisers.
Yeah.
But that has been our podcast. Thank you for your time.